Hi, Thrivers. Why do people generally go back to a narcissist more than once? It happens all the time. I did it dozens of times, and I know a lot of you have as well. It really relates to, I love this expression of Pema Chodron, and I'm going to read it out because I think this is the one quote that explains the truth about narcissistic abuse more than any other I've ever heard. And what she said is nothing ever goes away until it has taught us what we need to know. And this is narcissistic abuse to a T, exactly what we're talking about. People keep going back to a narcissist despite the logic, despite knowing this person is destroying me. It's never getting any better. It doesn't change. I should know better. Why do I keep going back? It's all to do with the inner love code, which is the emotional drivers. And what is the inner love code? It's the composition of our inner being in regard to love, which means interpersonal relationships. So where did this love code come from? It came precognitive. It's made up of very powerful contributors. And I so believe through the quantum work, it comes from past life experiences, things that we haven't healed, and we keep recreating in future lifetimes in order to make the unconscious conscious so that we can come home to healing ourselves and freeing ourselves and going on a trajectory out of fear and pain and more towards God and freedom and truth, which is soul evolution. It absolutely comes from the families that we're born into, the experiences that we've had as children, and our ongoing adult experiences. It's patterns, it's programs. And what happens is it doesn't matter how much we try to research and choose different people or look out for different people or know who we're choosing. We have to finally come to the experience of knowing I am so powerful and in the image of creation and connected to source. I am the generative source of my own experience. It doesn't mean I'm wrong or I'm at fault. It just means that my inner love code is taking me into wrong town instead of where I really want to go. So our inner love code can be things like the people I love invalidate me. The people I love treat me like I'm invisible. The people I love abandon me, replace me, abuse me, even annihilate me. And these are very, very painful programs. But we didn't realize this until we wake up into Thriver Healing, that we've actually been choosing the people that match the love code. Because our inner being, our subconscious programs connected to source and all of life and the generation of the validity of the program to the T doesn't logically say it's right or wrong. It says it's the energetic, emotional resonance that just is. And I'm going to grant you more of who you are being. So if our being is the people I love invalidate me, replace me, reject me, abandon me, annihilate me, well, then it just is. And what's really freaky about this, but it makes so much sense when you understand it, these are the people you're attracted to. These are the people that are attracted to you. And narcissists, in the whole scheme of thing, at a huger, higher, bigger picture, wider level, are in our experience to trigger what's not healed within us so that we can finally have the unconscious conscious so that we can heal it. But until we do that, the narcissist becomes our source of love, approval, survival, and security. So rather than sorting it and healing ourselves between self and source, true source, which is life force, creation, God, your higher power, your higher potential, your super conscious, whatever you want to call it, what's actually creating the unseen world into the seen world, which first starts off by belief systems, emotions, thoughts, choices, what and who you do and don't participate in. That's exactly what your love code is doing. Until we change that between true source, we're stuck with narcissists in a painful love code, trying to change them to stop hurting us, denying us, invalidating us, abusing us, or even annihilating us to be the source of love, approval, survival, and security. And the thing is, when narcissists come into our life, they come in all shiny and bright and very skillfully, expertly. They know how to do this. They fact find, they work out what makes you tick for good and bad. They find out where something has been missing or where you have unhealed wounds. And they show up purporting to be the savior of it. You've been invalidated all of your life. I'm going to give you validation in spades. You are somebody who was not trusted, and you were controlled, and you were monitored, and you were accused of all of these things. I'll grant you space. Of course I'll believe in you and trust you. You are somebody who's had people do adultery to you and play up on you and do all sorts of terrible things. Well, I believe 100% monogamy. I would never do that to anybody. This is how the narcissist shows up. Now, they're actually not the savior of your wound. They're actually the deliverer of them. So your love code is an exact match for them, which is why you feel in love with them. But what's happening is, not only do you have that energetic match, the people I love equals is a direct match to this person, you also have the emotional overlay, the top layer of, oh my gosh, what's hurt? This is now going to relieve that. This is going to be what I've been looking for my whole life, is what I can trust, is what's going to save me, what's going to grant me self. And we can never get that through a false source. We can only ever get that between us and ourselves and true source. So that's a huge trauma bond. And then, of course, in the story of the narcissist, the prince or the princess that's come into our life, who's the savior of all of these wounds, we have that heightened experience of relief and nirvana and coming home to ourselves, but it's actually a faux reality. It's not the truth. It's a false source. Then the rug gets pulled out from under us, and everything that was hurting, rather than that getting soothed with balm now, all of that gets withdrawn, and there's been the bait and the hook, and now there's the switch. And they will actually start attacking those wounds and ripping them apart and to pieces. Even more with you flailing around and putting all of this intense focus on the narcissist to be your source and to fix it and to go back to the person who you thought they were, that you actually created as your fantasy as well, to try to get them to be that person. And this is why when you pull away, you have these shocking feelings of addiction. You feel like you're dying. You feel like you can't live. And the intense psychic hooks and bonds and trauma bonds and peptide addictions are off the planet. They're really, really, really huge and they just floor you because you've never experienced anything like it. It's not like a normal breakup where you can just get up and get on with it. And this is what Pema Chodron is talking about. Completely and utterly. And let me go back to the quote again so we can really put it into context of what I'm talking about here. That it is, again, nothing ever goes away until it has taught us what we need to know. And people believe the narcissist living on inside of me like a total psychic virus. Why am I still feeling it after 30 years? Or this person will not stop smashing me and taking me back to court, and they just will not stop. This person is like a Terminator. It's not going away. Why? Because you haven't learnt yet what you need to know. What have you needed to learn? To turn inwards and heal your internal love code. That's what this is all about. Because what do belief systems do? They're controlling 40 billion bits of your whole human experience, your energetic life experience, how you feel, what you think, what you're participating in, what you're throwing fuel on the fire with, what is actually in your mural of life that has your attention and your vibrational, emotional, spiritual energy, which is generating more of that. Who are you being is this lesson. And when you understand how to quantumly get the trauma out of your body and release that internal love code that's keeping you all hooked up in this, and you release it and you bring in true source, you get released from that love code, which means that you are released from that psychic, dynamic, energetic connection to this person who is literally sucking your life force, even if you haven't seen them for 30 years. Because narcissists are a parasite. They literally feed off your life force, even if you haven't seen them for 30 years. If your love code is still a match to them and you're hooked to them. So, absolutely, kinetically, humanly, physically, people generally go back. And you go back because you haven't as yet learnt what you need to know. You haven't needed to know that it's my internal love code that's been faulty, that's been traumatized through previous experience or my genetic makeup or my past life experiences that has put me on a trauma, on a trajectory of interpersonal trauma. And I'm now getting the evidence of that trauma coming to me to make my unconscious wounds conscious, so that I can know there's only one person in the room here, that at the quantum reality, you're the center of your inner universe is co-generating your outer universe. Doesn't mean it's your fault. Doesn't mean it's you're a narcissist. It means that you've had trauma programs that match that experience. And once they're gone and replaced with true source, which as an adult gives you the fullness and the wholeness of love, approval, survival, and security through true force, and the available healthy capacities and fundaments of life that match more of your being, then that person becomes completely and utterly irrelevant. There is no desire to go back. There's no feelings of non-completion and non-closure and despair and what you haven't granted me and what you should have done and what I should have done and what I could have done. All of that's gone because you have your graduation and your ascension into true self and a trajectory of a true self where you are sourcing healthily and correctly instead of being enmeshed with a false source. So we keep going back to the false source when we've had programs that match a false source. I really hope that this makes sense to you, because there is no salvation and release in researching narcissists. There is no salvation and release in trying to do this logically. You have to do the inner work to get released. That's where the truth really is. And I'm going to put up a link with this video. You'll see it in the show notes, which is about NARP, which is the signature program in this community, which completely released me from the old programs of abuse into true self, true life, true relationships. And it's done it for thousands of people from countries all over the world in the last 12 plus years. So, check it out, feel into it. And remember, the pattern is not going to stop until you change your beingness. And it's not what you're doing and it's not what you're learning. It's who you are being that changes everything and releases you from this horror. I really hope that this has helped. So, as always, keep smiling, keep healing, and keep thriving and change your being. Then you are going to thrive. Lots of love. Bye-bye.